Welcome. Thanks for joining our call today. I am here with Brad from Factura. Today's focus is going to be chatting about AP automation and just how Factura works with HIA. On a high level, one of the keys that I love about Factura, once again, is the fact that they are tightly integrated with HIA. So the data flows very freely between both of our systems. I will go through a couple of slides and then let Brad start his presentation. Okay. So just a couple of the benefits of automating your AP. Obviously simplifying the things you do, to pull that data in from all of your hotels. Factura will give you a single email address to be able to send all of your invoices across your whole portfolio. Reducing bottlenecks, giving you the ability to speed these processes up and reduce the labor. Obviously, reducing that labor significantly reduces costs. It scales very easily, so whether you have 130 hotels or 3 hotels, Factura works very well. It still allows you, obviously, to keep all of the controls in place. In fact, it gives you more control because it allows you to see things like duplicate invoices or other things that you want to be brought to your attention. Our onboarding with Factura is very simple. All you need to do is contact HIA, say, hey, we would like to move forward, and then our teams will reach out. They will be able to sync both systems and then give you some training on the platform and move forward that way. We talked about the tight integrations, and also Factura has a great reporting tool. It can sit on your dashboards inside of HIA. So truly, you still have that feeling of a single platform with Factura and HIA. The system also learns, so as you make changes to coding or other items into the system, if you add a GL code, for instance, inside of HIA, that will also push to Factura as well. I can't speak highly enough. Let's take a look at the system. Brad, if you'd like to share your screen, I'm going to turn my camera off and let's have a look at Factura.
Thank you so much, Chris. Okay. Confirming you can see my screen?
We can.
All right, perfect. Yeah, as Chris mentioned, Factura works seamlessly with HIA, and we can onboard your organization within a couple of days. And what's great about the integration with HIA is that we can push and pull information. So we can pull your vendor list, your chart of accounts, and we can push all of the data that you've extracted from the invoices and the codes and the image of the invoice as well back into your HIA platform. Now, from a process perspective, as Chris mentioned, you'll get one email address, and that email address will be customized to your business. Whether you have 10 hotels or 100 hotels, you still get one email address. From there, the invoice will come in to Factura, and we will extract and code that information within 30 seconds. I'm just going to show you an example of an invoice here. This is a Papa John's invoice, and this has 2 pages of line items. Factura does have the ability to code line items as well. So not only invoices that look like this, where you're just pulling one total to one GL, but also 4 line items as well. And you just set that up once, and the system will remember the next time that green peppers comes in from Papa John's, it's already going to be coded. Now, if it's a new product or item that has come in and it's never seen a code before, the system will warn you, and it will tell you that Destinator needs a code. You'll just start typing in either the GL name or the GL number. We've already pulled your chart of accounts, so it'll populate it, and then from that list, you can pull it in and populate that. Once you set up once, on a go-forward basis, the system automatically will code the information. What's also great about Factura is because we give you that one email address, it knows and can identify which property this invoice belongs to. So based on information on the invoice itself, whether it's a name of a hotel, a number of a hotel, or the address of the hotel, we get the entire list of the hotels, which entities those hotels belong to, and it will automatically map it and extract the information to make sure that the information is going to the right property. Now, there's other information like invoice number, invoice date, the terms, the totals. We can pull tax as well if it's needed, and obviously the coding. Now, if you, for whatever reason, the system didn't pick up the right information, and I'm just going to show you here, the system does learn and get better and better over time as users make adjustments. So you can see here, if I use this little training cap, I can go over the invoice number to teach the system. And you can see here that the system not only entered all the data, but what's even more impressive is that the next time this invoice comes in, as information changes on the page, you're actually training it to get better and better, which means less human touches over time. So that takes care of the extraction process. So I'm just going to reiterate, 30 seconds, extract and code, allocate the information to the right property from a hotel perspective. Now, your AP group will live in this box. You can see here, these are all the tasks that they need to take care of. Any invoices that error out, and errors could be, as Chris mentioned, it could be a duplicate invoice. It could be an invoice that we've never seen before that needs to get set up from a GL perspective. It could also be an invoice that, for whatever reason, Factura did fail to pick up the information. And so your team is tasked with fixing all of those errors. Now, what's unique, or another feature that can be added to Factura, and this is optional, is HIA has its own workflow approval process within their platform. And so you could use Factura as purely processing invoices, review the invoices, make sure that it's all coded properly, and then send that information and the image over to HIA itself. That's one option. And the approval process will take place within HIA. You can have the option within Factura to have the approval process happen within here. And so what we'll do is we'll customize and configure an approval process based on your needs. And let's say there's a GM that needs to get it, and above a certain dollar amount, it needs to go to a district manager. Once the invoice comes in, it will automatically get routed for the approval, wait for all the signatures before coming back into AP. And so what that looks like is your GM will get an email saying they've got 10 invoices to approve. And they get two options. Now, option number one is they click the link. It's going to take them to an approver view where it shows them all the invoices that they need to approve. They can see all the pages of those invoices. So here's those 10 invoices that they need to approve. And they do two things: approve an invoice or reject an invoice. If they approve an invoice, any notes that are associated with the invoice already, any information is already there. You can see it. They can approve an invoice. It's optional to add a note. If they reject it, it's mandatory for them to write a note so that AP understands why they're rejecting this invoice. The other thing they can see on the left is the GL code, the location this belongs to, some basic information about this invoice. Now, it does not, on the approver view, it does not pick up the multiple line item GLs, and the GM or the approver can't change any of the coding. So the other option is that you give your approvers the AP view. They would come into here, same thing, click that link. It'll take them to the AP view, and then they'll be able to see the 10 invoices that belong to their location itself. They'll just open it up, be able to see the invoice on the left, all the data extracted on the right, and any coding that they need to change, they can change that as well. Click approve. And so that would complete the approval process from the approver's perspective. That's where then your AP would take over and make any adjustments they need to do before sending it over to HIA. Now, if you have multiple properties, this might be a feature that you like, and they're probably doing it manually today. is imagine you had 100 invoices, 100 properties, and you wanted to split this one invoice across all of your 100 properties. How do you do that seamlessly and easily? Well, we've got a split button down here. So you can come in here, choose the locations that you want to split it by, click select. So here I split it by 5 locations. And if I go to split evenly, I can now split that invoice evenly across. And so you're done. It's already GL coded. It's split by the amounts. You can see the tax was also split. And so it goes to your 5 hotels. I'm just going to delete this. Once you do it once, the system remembers how you've done it before. You can go to the clone button. And in the clone, it's going to show you the last time you did it, you split it by 5 locations. And so you can see here, saves you a step. You can now just use the clone and it's going to allocate it across your properties the exact same way that you've done it previously. We keep an audit trail of everything that goes in on for the journey of the invoice. So you'll know where this invoice came from, who touched it, when it was touched, who approved it, when they approved it. Everything is traced and tracked. If you ever deal with, let's say, batch invoices that come up, I'm just going to try to find an invoice that has multiple pages. But if you're ever scanning invoices in from paper-based and you email it into our system, there's 2 options. Option 1 is you scan each invoice individually, or if you do a batch, you can come in here, use the scissor tool. It's going to show you, here's all your pages of the invoice, the batch, and you might look at it and say, yep, this is one invoice. These belong together, but this is a separate invoice, and here's a separate invoice. So now we split it between 3 invoices. You can see these 2 together are one invoice. This is one page of another invoice, and these 2 are a different invoice. You can then run the split, and what'll happen is it'll reprocess and split those invoices into 3 different individual invoices to run and extract and code. If someone ever scans pages and they do it in the wrong order, you can always rearrange the order and then rerun it again so that it's in the right order itself. So once it comes into, so you can see here if it's rejected, your AP will be able to see, the reason why it was rejected and who did it and when it was when they rejected it as well, and so that your AP team can act and execute whatever is needed for the next steps of these rejected invoices. And so just to go over the process, invoice comes in, 30 seconds, it's going to get extracted and coded. If you choose an approval process, the approvers will get notified and approve those invoices. Once all the approvals have happened and completed, it'll come back for AP's final review. If it's rejected, they'll deal with it. If they need to review something, they'll review it before they push it over to HIA. And when they're ready to push to HIA, they can search by the entity or the location that they want to push the invoices to, or all of them. Click here, and there will be an upload to accounting button. And once you click that, your process is complete. And any errors that you need to deal with, you would fix those. And that would, once you clear out your error box, those will go over to the next stage of your AP process. So that completes, from a processing perspective, a quick and easy way to process invoices. Factura also has a few other features. Number 1 is you can search for all of your invoices, and you can search it by date ranges. You can search for specific invoice numbers. You can also search by vendors, the entity, the location, which departments, if you have departments part of your approval process, the status of these invoices, and tags. You can actually add metadata to invoices, which our customers use a lot, to tag invoices, so that maybe you're building out a new hotel. So you want to say, for construction number 1 or new hotel, we're going to tag it that way, so that we can do a reconciliation of all the invoices that belong to that new construction when it's complete. So just to show you, I'm going to pull 120 days of invoices, but as I said, you can further filter by multiple different criteria. So once you do your search, it's going to give you a summary, total amount, number of invoices. Here's all the invoices that met that criteria. If you need PDF copies of those invoices, just click which invoices you want and click download. We'll zip a folder of invoices in PDF form to you. And as Chris mentioned, reporting and analysis, this is huge for Factura, is you can come in here based on your search criteria, you can now do an analysis of your invoices. So I'm just going to move my pivots around, and let's say I wanted to see, by the last months, who the vendors were of those invoices. And I actually want to break it down by location. So if you ever wanted to do an analysis to say, how much am I spending across my locations by this specific vendor, you can do that. Or if I want to change it to count, how many invoices am I getting per month for that specific vendor across my locations? Or maybe you want to just filter it even further and just choose this location. And so whether you filter it within the pivot table or you filter it at the highest level, you're able to analyze the information within seconds. If you don't like table form, we have different charts, bar charts, line charts, any kind of chart to analyze the data. Here's another great feature about Factura. To make sure you don't miss any invoices is we have an alert system. So if you're expecting invoices, number one, from account perspective, or you've got contracts and you're expecting to pay a certain amount, you can track both of those. And it's very simple. You come in here, you add the vendor. I'm just going to choose the vendor all as an example. I've got 10 hotel locations. I have this one vendor that goes across all of my locations. So I'm expecting one invoice per active location. So you can change whether it's at the portfolio level, the active location level, or a very specific location. So I'm going to do it at all my locations for this vendor, get an invoice. And I also have a contract with them that I'm not spending more than $100. So you can put in a range, say from 0 to 100. So anything that does not meet your expectation, you're going to get notified at the end of the month. So once I click the alert, it's saved. On the last day of the month, you're going to get notified. So if, as an example, page 2, here's the one that we just set up. If for whatever reason, I've got 10 hotels and 9 of them get an invoice and hotel property number 7 didn't get an invoice, I'm going to be notified that hotel number 7 is missing an invoice from vendor all. And property number 6, they actually charged me $250. So I'm going to get notified for property number 6 that it was beyond my threshold and my expectation. So as long as you put in the email address of who you want to distribute this alert to, that will come out on the last day of the month. And so where Factura, excels is making sure that all of your processing of invoices are accurate, are done in a streamlined fashion that sync and work well with your accounting system, HIA. That you can optionally add all the approvals within Factura to make sure that that's a seamless process as well. And also to make sure that you have all of the information. So if you ever need to do a search, the information is here from an invoice history perspective, but you also get the alerts as well to make sure that all the invoices that you are expecting are in Factura. And this gives you all the transparency so you can see what's going on at every stage of the invoice. It gives you all the controls in place from approver controls, duplicate controls, as Chris mentioned, or audit trails. Audit trails to make sure that you understand the journey of the invoice, but also everyone that's involved in the journey of the invoice also knows that everything is being tracked. And at the end of the day, what Factura does is, allows you to close your books faster, gives you those controls in place, and just bring in more accurate information in a timely manner into HIA. Chris, thank you so much for allowing me to present Factura.ai.
Perfect. Thank you, Brad. Thanks for the high-level overview. Both Brad and I would be happy to chat with you. If you have any questions, please reach out. Make it a great 2023, and we'll catch up soon. Thank you.